One of the skills in life that I found very useful is the ability to read the room, to understand the situation that you're in, and to make appropriate course corrections so you're not doing the wrong thing. Now, as a Prime Minister, this is doubly important because you have to represent the needs of everyone in the country. Now, what I'm about to show you was released on the Number 10 YouTube channel a little while ago, and I'll let you watch it, and you can listen to this moron drone on for about 3 minutes talking about internationalism while his own country is exploding in major cities and towns.
The appalling scenes in Gaza are unrelenting, and I know the British people are sickened by what is happening. The images of starvation and desperation are utterly horrifying. The denial of aid to children and to babies is completely unjustifiable, just as the continued captivity of hostages is completely unjustifiable. Hundreds of civilians have been killed while seeking aid, children killed whilst collecting water. It is a humanitarian catastrophe, and it must end. We've put millions of pounds of aid into Gaza. We've announced an extra 40 million this year. But that help is not getting in. So we're scaling up our work. We are accelerating efforts to evacuate children from Gaza who need critical medical assistance, bringing them to the UK for specialist medical treatment. News that Israel will allow countries to airdrop aid into Gaza has come far too late, but we will do everything we can to get aid in via this route. We are already working urgently with the Jordanian authorities to get British aid onto planes and into Gaza. More broadly, alongside our closest allies, I am working on a pathway to peace in the region, focused on the practical solutions that will make a real difference to the lives of those who are suffering in this war. That pathway will set out concrete steps to turn the desperately needed ceasefire into a lasting peace. Recognition of a Palestinian state has to be one of those steps. I'm unequivocal about that. But it must be part of a wider plan which ultimately results in a two-state solution and lasting security for Palestinians and Israelis. That is the way to ensure that recognition is a tool of maximum impact to improve the lives of those who are suffering. And that must always be our ultimate goal. The fact that we've rebuilt the UK's standing on the world stage enables us to rally international action behind real, purposeful, practical solutions. That is what we've done with the Coalition of the Willing in support of Ukraine. And that is what must happen in the Middle East, building a new international coalition behind a plan to end the suffering, now and for the long term.
Now, this is followed on the back of France declaring that we must recognise the Palestinian state, and that's of course Macron, who is unable to deal with any matters obviously within his own country and all of the problems going on there, and he's far more concerned with talking about a Middle Eastern conflict than dealing with the issues in his own country. And it's funny that he should be talking to his mate Kier Starmer, who largely agrees with him. Approximately 220 MPs, and it says from all across the House. I mean, these will be mainly Labour MPs, I would imagine. About a third, so we can say at least 2/3 of Parliament has retained some brain cells. But the reason that Starmer's doing it now is because France have done it. And because France done it, our MPs are now signing things to say we must recognise Palestine as a state. Okay, so let's recognise Palestine as a state, right? Is that what everyone wanted? So can we move on now, please? This isn't our country. This is happening thousands of miles away, and it's a very, very complicated and nasty conflict. But it's not our conflict, and we aren't global world leaders. And one of the things that needs to be remembered within this strangeness is that after Mr. Macron's statement, Donald Trump came out and had a go at Mr. Macron, and he said, here's the good news. What he says doesn't matter at all. It's not going to change anything. Because Mr. Trump knows that it's down to America and Israel to sort the problem out. We're a teeny tiny country off the northern coast of Europe, and Mr. Starmer here is suffering from delusions of grandeur, believing that first of all we have the money to help anybody in any other country, like as if we're some super rich country that isn't going bankrupt within a very short space of time, but also as to whether we're some type of thought leader on the world stage. And this is part of one of the problems to do with Britain, and we've been carrying this for a long time. And so, given our place in the world, our real place in the world, I think as a country we need to start learning some humility. Mr. Starmer here, playing the supreme diplomat and global leader, might play well with a very, very small percentage of the British public who care about Gaza for whatever reason that is. But as Mr. Trump said, it's not going to change anything. We have no bearing on world events. Look at everything that Starmer done. He even mentioned it there. He had the audacity to mention the coalition of the willing. Starmer has no influence on the world stage at all. It's got nothing to do with us. And he comes out with this really serious tone, as if this is the most important thing to the people of this country. Well, it's not important to me. And so when he comes out and he says these things, forgetting, of course, about the fact that there's tons of protests going on throughout the whole country. You know, there's these Gaza protests going every week. We've now got the prospect of doctors going out on strike, so people are going to die. We've got an economic implosion happening. And this is how our Prime Minister chooses to spend his time with these really serious statements coming out about conflicts that we have no control over, none at all, and promising even more money to places like this. And people will say, well, you can justify the money. All right, throw a few million quid in. Yes, we recognise the Palestinian state. We do all of that. Can everyone just pipe down now? If we've learned anything, it's this. You never appease anybody on the left because they always want more. These protests are now going to increase. Starmer will have made the calculation, or should I say his team will have made the calculation, because Mr. Starmer doesn't really have any political instincts of his own. So his team will have made the calculation that if we come out and say this, then perhaps all of these protests might chill out a bit. They might calm down, and by extension, perhaps the British people as well, they'll all go home as well. But that's not going to happen. That announcement there is just inflamed tensions in our capital, and there's going to be even more people come out because now, of course, that he's opened the crack in the door and he's allowed sunlight in, now the next thing is going to be called for. And you know what the next thing is? We need military action against Israel. We need to be sending our troops into Gaza. And if you think that that's far-fetched or that's science fiction, think again, because that's the next step on this journey. But Starmer knows he can't ever do that. But these protesters are now emboldened, and they're going to be screaming from the rooftops till kingdom come about this now. He doesn't understand how to be a prime minister. He doesn't get it. He's not a leader. People don't respect him. And coming out with these off-key statements at just the wrong time with all the wrong tone is a feature of Kier Starmer, and it's one of the reasons why. He hasn't got long left. He makes mistake after mistake after mistake. And even though he might think he's appeased a few people here, it's not going to work. This man is living on borrowed time, in my opinion. Thanks very much for your time.